G'day and welcome to the Digital Investor Podcast. Today, I have two awesome guests on. These guys have managed to hit $75,000 in their first year with us on our Champions program. We're going to chat to these guys and see how they've done it, but really interesting too. We're going to find out a little bit about their colorful background. So welcome, guys.
Thank you, Matt.
Great to be here.
Yes, well, I did have to mention, I'm particularly pleased to see you wearing my favorite shirts. You guys turn up at all our events and online events, and even when we had that live event in the colorful donut shirts. And you do have a really interesting, colorful background as well, which I think is an important part of your story. So I do want to say big thank you for coming along. Let's get into it. 75 grand, guys. You do know that the first year is a learning year, don't you? Not an earning year. What happened here?
I actually remember during the Champions interview, you saying, slow down. It's a learning year, not an earning year. And I'm like, we'll see about that. And look, I'm someone that I do go head first into a lot of things. So I'm enjoying the journey, and I know it's only the beginning, but with Kim's help, we're hitting a lot of goals.
Yeah, you certainly are, guys. So for you guys, what strategy did you decide to take when you started with? So, I should start out. Had either of you have any digital skills background before you came along to? I just realized, Kim, you're a little bit different, aren't you? I'll start with you, Kim. What was so, Nick? Did you have any digital skills?
Not web dev was my first experience of websites. Essentially, I'm transport background, so very little tech background is not at all.
Yeah. So what's your career normally, Nick?
So most of my career was a chef a long time ago, and then driving coaches around Australia with tourists and local airport transfers and things like that before moving into more of a management role, which was more managing people than tech side. Like, I had to use a computer, yes, but it was more the management of the people rather than management of online skills.
Okay. And then for you, Kim, now your story, because now I like to think you didn't have digital skills, but I just realized you've been with us for many years. But what were your digital skills like? Where were you at?
Ultimately, I was coaching cartwheels and handstands for a living prior to meeting you and the team. And I actually built a gymnastics club. So ultimately, I had a website, which magically started to look very e-businessy down the track. And the process of building that, I think, gave me a good foundation without me even realizing where my skills had taken me. So just learning those little bits along the way and actually developing that out. So looking back in the Wayback Machine at my bricks and mortar business website is quite fun. And the SEO actually behind that is quite interesting, just with the social side and driving traffic back to the website. So I would have loved to have understood what analytics were back then too, because I feel like I would have had a really good SEO strategy that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And from that side of things, sold that business, retired, started traveling the country, but set up a little travel blog, which was one of my little part-time gigs in amongst driving around the country in my caravan solo. I like to call it BM before Nick.
Yeah, BM before Nick. Love it. So how long ago was this? When you sold your gymnastics business, you built that up, sold it, retired. Nice one, by the way. Love those stories. So I'd travel off around Australia with your caravan at the time by yourself. So that was BN before Nick. How long ago? When was this? What year? What era are we in then?
I hit the road in 2017.
2017.
So I'd been on the road for about 5 years, went up through the middle, got to Darwin, picked up a little bit of temp work, flying in and out of Indigenous communities, coaching gymnastics, which was phenomenal. But a lot of it was contract work. So nothing really kept me put anywhere for too long, but gave me a really good travel story to put on the website. And then ended up, obviously, COVID kicked in there. I was in a medical centre of all places. So I stayed put in Outback Queensland for a couple of years in a place called Cloncurry, which is outside Mount Isa, lots of mining and that sort of thing, and remote community out that way. And then ended up going to another place after that to work for the council and a few other different jobs through maternity contracts out in a place called Roma, which is about 6 hours west of Brisbane.
No, well, very nice, like nice big cattle yards there. So for the last 5 years or so, it sounds like you've been very involved in rural and oil and gas. Good.
Definitely. It's one of those lifestyles that you get sucked into, the communities and the people and the red dust, which Nick, being the city boy that he is, and once we met, he was still cleaning red dust out of the wheels of my car for about 12 months.
Yeah.
And then we go out to visit my friends on a regular basis and collect some more red dust, and we come back to Brizzy, and he likes to clean the car.
Yeah, so it's the classic outback lifestyle for yourself, Kim, like and FIFO, like fly in, fly out type work that you're doing, bit of contract work, but really sounds like you're kind of semi-retired / working on whatever came up when you're out back.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of maternity contracts to start with. So they were really handy, but then people wanted me to stay on because once you get involved in the community and they know, like, and trust you, they want you to stay and keep doing the job that you're doing. And then, of course, me being the traveller would hitch up my caravan and drive to the next town. That then ultimately evolved into getting a lot of the licenses and qualifications to go out into the mining areas, and actually ended up working in an acid plant at one point. Okay. That was a bit of an interesting one, relatively dangerous as a whole.
Yeah. So did you say an acid plant?
Yeah. They produced acid and then ultimately fertilizer. And it was very much toxic and very much bad chemicals, just not a good place to work long term. So that was when I was beginning to meet Nick. And he was like, we need to get you out of this. You can't be working in an acid plant and be 1 week on and 1 week off, and him sitting around pining for me, waiting for me to come home.
So where did
evolution happened?
And so, because this is important part of the story, where did you guys meet? At what point? So you're traveling around and you did, so at this point you had some digital skills for you, Kim, because we should mention, anyone listening, Kim was on our program back in what we were trying to figure it out, 2015, you've been around us for a long time on digital investors. So then you're on the road, travel blogging as well. You meet Nick. When did you meet Nick, and how did you meet Nick, and where?
We're both originally from Victoria, but I moved up here during COVID when I was offered a transfer into a management role as a Brisbane operations for the company I was working for. And I was actually positioned out in Chinchilla for a period of time during a mining shutdown. But Kim so happened to also be working for, in this tiny little town, about 4 hours west of Brisbane, and we actually met on Tinder, which we're actually staying in the same hotel at the same time, communicating, but didn't even realise we're at the same location.
So
I was in room 27.
That's a classic.
We never know
the same. What other chances you're in this? So any of our listeners, you can look it up. Chinchilla is, as Nick said, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Well, it's not quite the middle of nowhere, but it's outback Australia, 4 hours out of Brisbane, due west in the red dust. And you're in the same hotel. And that's how you two meet. So Kim, you meet. How did you convince Nick that he should do this digital stuff? Because Nick's never done any digital, never been online, working in a travel company, meets this crazy, awesome lady traveling around with a caravan going, man, this is cool. What the hell do you do? How'd you convince him to get into the digital stuff?
Yeah, another interesting story. So he convinced me to get out of FIFO. and take a boring old desk job, still in the oil and gas industry. So currently working that one to this day as part-timer. And ultimately he's like, well, you're going to move back to the city. So off we went to Brizzy. We got ourselves a nice little lease and actually found somewhere to live in amongst the trying to find somewhere to live with 80 to 100 other people at inspections. We got there in the end.
Yep.
And then ultimately, about 3 months after we moved in here, he's like, going to work today. It's like, hang on, you go to work. What's this deal? He's taken long service leave all of a sudden. So he's off for 3 months. And about 4 weeks into his wonderful holiday, and I kept coming home from my data entry day job, and he would be right on top of me, wanting to tell me all about what he watched on the Food Channel that day. Yeah. Being an ex-chef, that would pretty much be his menu for the day, was watching the Food Channel.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then telling me all about it when I got home from work, which was generally, you need that half-hour breathing space just to go, okay, I'm home. And yes, highly suggested he use his brain during the day and watch some of the videos that I had in my little arsenal, and logged him in and sat him down. And then to the point where I got home from work, I couldn't actually get him off the videos and off the actual learnings. So he did a really, really good job with his learnings, considering he was a guy that didn't really want to go to school, didn't want to learn, wanted to hang out down the beach with the girls during high school. Yeah. I'm going to throw you on that one.
I saw that in your accountability to us. Yes, Nick. Well, that's cool. So Nick, you just studied the Digital Investor Program, which if you're listening to this, presumably you know about it or you've heard about it in our free masterclass. It's the program where we teach people how to buy and renovate websites. And that's what Kim was on all those years ago. So Nick, you're working through this during the day, and now fast forward to what you're doing now. Now you two are legends at building websites, and you've turned it in. So it must have gone pretty quick. Like this last year has been a pretty amazing journey for you both.
Since joining Champions, we had one sort of in the pipeline already before sort of going on Champions. A friend of a friend sort of got us in contact with the Roma Show society committee. But and then it wasn't really until Kim went part-time that we really took off, and the business really has just grown strength from strength from there, really. We sort of, the Roma Show was a very big learning. It was the 47-page website that we did as a sponsorship deal, but it took a lot of time and a lot of phone calls with the coaches and the like. So it was a big learning curve. But once that sort of went live, we then realized that, yes, we are that digital agency now that we can go out and get more work. And Kim went part-time in March, and it just went gangbusters from there.
Okay, so what I should do, I should mention for our overseas listeners and for anyone that doesn't know Roma is a big inland rural country town, very well known for cattle and oil and gas, and there's lots of it's in Outback Australia. This is the amazing thing. The Roma Show is famous. Like, it's a big, as you would imagine, for those big, rural towns, they have their annual show. Nick and Kim's first job website build is the Roma Show. So as Nick politely said, then there was a few calls with the coaches, please help out here. So you guys jumped into the deep end. You meant to, again, and okay, you did it as a sponsorship deal, which is awesome. So it's not about the money, but that's a seriously important website. You don't want to be making mistakes on the Roma Show website, 47 pages. Hats off to you both. Really, really well done for taking it on. Now, that was through, so Nick, something you said there, just so people realize, that was through good old-fashioned networking, wasn't it, by the sounds of it? Is that someone you knew, Kim? How the hell did you land a job like that? Because that kind of put you on the map too.
Definitely put us on the map. We kind of got put on the spot, actually. We were doing a house sit for some friends that I used to park my caravan on their block of land in Roma when I lived there.
All
so
right.
went out to, I think, just catch up, and I was introducing, Nick, the new man in my life, and all of those things.
Yep.
And then they found out that we did websites. It's like, no, not yet. We have an interview with a guy called Matt. We're going to see if we can get on this program called Champions. We're working our way towards it. This will be a future project that we may be able to assist you with. Well, you can build the Roma Show's website. And that was pretty much it. It was locked in. It was done.
Wow. And so when you joined Champions, you hit the ground running. So that's why you decided to go into digital agency strategy though as well. So if anyone listening to this, you guys have done the digital where you're building websites for businesses and for Roma Show and things like that. And was the goal, so Nick, you weren't working at that point because like with COVID and everything, the travel.
I never went back to work after that. And yeah, we've just been.
It was about 4 weeks after he started studying on his long service leave that he went, this digital agency thing sounds interesting.
Okay.
I don't think I want to go back to work after long service leave. I'm going to build websites and build an agency.
Wow. All right. So you guys backed yourselves. And then so to support yourselves, Kim, you stayed and you're still working now. Because you're in a pretty good role on oil and gas, well paid, pretty good role, but flexible hours.
Administration isn't necessarily the greatest pay rate.
Oh, you're not the FIFO.
Because you're not in a FIFO role. So I've definitely taken a pay cut from the FIFO, from the industrial cleaning and the acid plants and things like that.
So you're not earning that sort of money anymore. You're not in the rural part now. You're in the city bits where you don't get paid. Isn't it funny? You're in the city, you don't get paid as much as what you do out in remote.
Sometimes it's just as dangerous though.
Yeah.
Sometimes those offices can be pretty hectic.
Yeah.
So yeah. But definitely a lifestyle, and I've managed to negotiate into a part-time position, and I also managed to negotiate that those hours would be from home. So that was when we did that in March this year, and I had more time then to leverage, I guess, the conversations with people to start that networking a bit heavier while Nick was doing the more technical side of our builds and
of the builds.
That side. So we complement each other really well in that regard.
Perfect. So that's how, like, someone listening to this is trying to figure out, in their heads, okay, how have you two done it? That's super cool. So you negotiate, and we see this a lot in this day and age. You can, especially after COVID, you can negotiate with employers to work from home, far more flexible hours. And Nick, like you said, it was when Kim went part-time that everything took off. So if you're listening to this, keep that in mind. It might be the situation for you guys, for you listening to this as well. So you did find, Kim, that it was really helpful that you were able to go part-time, and Nick, you were full-time at this because you never went back. And hats off to you both. You both backed yourselves, and look what you achieved. And it did go off. Let's have a look at that, because there's some lessons there as well, I think, for our listeners. So in this first year where you're meant to be learning, you did 75 grand, contracted 75 grand. Out of that, so that includes like recurring revenues, does it? Like SEO and maintenance packages? Because that's where, things start to get exciting. So at the end of 12 months, so we're recording this. If you listen to this is, the reason I'm recording this is to celebrate Nick and Kim's success, but to capture a moment in time too, dead on the 12-month mark with us. What's the recurring revenue that you're getting from just like the maintenance packages and things like that?
At the moment, we're getting about $3,500 a month from ongoing SEO, hosting and maintenance packages.
Well done, guys. That's awesome, because that's just the start. I mean, you're not meant to earn anything at this point, Nick. So $3.5 grand recurring is awesome. That's a month. Now, what's the average website build that you're doing after 12 months? How much you're charging for a website build, and where did you start? Okay, sponsorship one for Roma. But after that, once you started charging, what did that journey look like for someone over the 12 months?
We've sort of ranged from, we did a couple of free websites just to help people out, or in kind, I guess you could say. Like they did something for us and we built their website. But from there, we sort of went to the 1,000, then 2,500, then to 3. then to 3.5, and we have just had a proposal come back for $12,500.
And proposal come back. Like, are they going to take it? Have they accepted it?
They've accepted the project.
So you've just quite, okay, guys, you're not meant to do that in your first year. So at the end, what did Calum, our coach, say to you at that time? Like, did he just shake his, because, you know, it took them years, right? And Calum's a legend. He builds websites for Channel 10 and all sorts of stuff, like big stuff. What did he say when he heard that you're getting a $12,500 website built in your first year on Champions? Oh my goodness.
We haven't told him yet that we got it. We actually had a call with him, which gave us the confidence to ask for that amount, because we were originally looking at this potential client at maybe a 7. And when we actually went through and he had a bit of a look at some of our previous builds for other clients and suggested that this particular build would be closer to the 12.5. So we just threw caution to the wind and threw that at the client, and he accepted it.
Love it.
This comes down to mindset, really. Like, if you believe in what you produce, then you can produce it. By being on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that I did want to mention, because there's all these awesome financial goals that you've ticked off in this first year. And, you know, hats off to you both. The other reason why Nick and Kim are on this podcast, they set a goal to be on the podcast. And they actually asked me, they sent an email saying, how do we get Matt's attention to get on the podcast? And, well, mission accomplished. You get results like that, you're going to get on the podcast, because that's seriously impressive. Like really well done. You kind of manifested it too, being on the podcast, by getting these results that you've achieved. It's not just the financial stuff, because it's also you two working as a couple now is super cool to see. You're in a position, by the looks of it, where you've got options now after this 12 months. How are you feeling there? Now that you look back over this 12 months, so Kim, for you, say, you know, you're working, you're a jack of all trades, literally. You're a jillaroo. Like, you know, you worked on everything Outback. Now you're stuck in an admin role, which, you know, it's okay. But how are you feeling about because you're meant to be retired, aren't you, or semi-retired? Where are you, you know, what's life like for you now when you look at it, what you've learned and how much you've earned in this first year?
I'm actually hanging out to be in the agency full time.
All right.
The admin job is just not doing it for me. It's very much data entry, day in, day out. Whereas I'm finding the agency and the clients are just, they're my jam. They're my people. They're excited about their businesses, and I can get them even more excited about their website.
Good.
So it's just this package that we're helping people, and it's actually going to achieve something for them. Whereas, again, data entry for oil and gas, you just sit there and you tap away on your computer. But to actually see results for our clients, and we're getting rankings and we're getting domain authorities up, and it's just seeing those analytics. I do nerd out on the analytics, probably more so than Nick.
Good.
I'm always pulling them up. He's like, stop looking. You only get to look once a month. And I'm like, okay. Because then I can deliver back to the clients like, this is exciting. And they're like, I don't know what you just told me, but you're excited, so I'm going to be excited.
And do you still like working, like is your preference to, even though you're based in the city now, do you still like to get out to the country areas, out to rural Australia? Is that your like outback people? And is there good work out there for digital marketing?
This is an interesting question.
Yeah.
I'm the outback girl. Nick's still the city boy.
I am still very much. I do love where we live. We are in a very, I think, one of the best suburbs of Brisbane.
You are. Very nice part.
I do enjoy going out and seeing Kim in her more natural state of Outback Queensland. So as far as do they need website, there is definitely a market in the rural Outback. It's hard though, because a lot of them rely on social media for their presence. So they don't necessarily understand. And it's the educating of that, yes, socials are good, but you do need that digital footprint in a website as well, and SEO.
So it's virtual real estate for these guys out there. So that's interesting, Nick. So you guys are finding when you're having these conversations in these rural outback towns, it's just like tradies though. They all think, oh no, I've got a Facebook page, I'm okay. And is that probably the biggest barrier you've got to overcome?
Yes, definitely. It's definitely I know, we've got Facebook, we've got Instagram, some of them have TikTok, whatever it is. They think that that's all they need. And it's like, well, no, that you need a suite of digital products. Because as you said, it's your digital real estate. If you have a website, then most people will go to, they own it. So, and people will go to your website to verify who you are and your story and all those things.
Including Google, by the way. So, and it's an asset. Well, out of interest, what's it like, the reception that you get when you go out to, like, from people when you start talking to them in the Outback about websites? Like, is it, do they have, what's the economy like out there now? Because you're in that Outback Queensland, we should mention, you're mainly traveling out to Outback Queensland, aren't you, Kim? There's a lot of money out there at the moment, especially with the oil and gas, and also cattle prices at the moment are really high. Just speaking to a farmer friend of ours, they're very, very happy at the moment with cattle. What's that like? Like, they're not tight on money, are they? Or what have you found on the money side? What's it like chatting to them about selling websites?
It's definitely, again, that education piece Nick touched on. I don't think cash flow is an issue. As you say, the price point, the oil and gas, a lot of these people who do own businesses are very well established, like family generational style of businesses. So we have found a little resistance when it's, say, the son has taken over from the father, but the father's still present in the business. So it's that conversation piece is always ending with, I'll have to check with dad. So it's interesting that we can stay in contact with them relatively easily, though, because it is that smaller community. We, again, have that really good presence now with the Roma Show. We're all over their website in terms of sponsorship, and we rock up to their show and their fundraising events and things, because they're inviting us to continue to come back and support them, which is amazing, just to be so well accepted. Helps that we've got friends out there as well. So, of course, built those relationships over years and that side of things as well. It's relationships, end of the day.
That's awesome, because in country towns, because as you know, Liz and I come from country towns. We were just at an event with, lots of old family members, and it's who you know. It's that Johnny on the spot thing. You kind of got to be there. Do you find that, Kim, you're at a much bigger advantage because you actually drive all the way out to Roma or Chinchilla or whatever, whereas these flash digital agencies in Sydney and Melbourne and stuff, they're probably wearing trendy looking clothes, bright, colourful shirts, mate. I'm stirring. But do you find that, they're a bit country people? I know in my country town, we're a little bit wary of the city slickers. Are you finding that in rural Queensland?
Definitely. Even the people that have been there for a generation aren't considered local. That's the saying. You've got to be 6 generations in the graveyard. It's like, oh, that's a bit much.
So as a digital agency, though, because this is a brand new industry, cracking into these rural towns can be particularly easier if you actually travel out there. So someone listening to this, if they want to get into, we've got a lot of people in rural America or rural other parts of rural Australia, obviously, and you've always heard me say, I think there's massive opportunities for digital agencies in rural towns, particularly you start in the big ones and work your way out. And like your drive out to Roma, you're getting to visit these other towns. I would imagine that once people get to know you and see you, you just need that foot in the door. You're at a huge advantage to any other digital agency that's not prepared to go out there.
They are very focused on the local aspect. They want to know that the person they're talking to is the person that is looking after them, not someone via email. It could be in Australia or America or the Philippines or they want to know that there's that local connection.
They want to know. They want to eyeball you. They want to meet you face to face. They want to know. They want to either share a beer or a cupcake with you or something like that.
Definitely.
And I've actually just received a call a couple of days ago from a lady in Cloncurry. So where I used to live for about 2 years over that COVID period,
Yeah.
A friend of mine I used to work with now works completely different organisation with this lady who's picked up the phone, given me a call and said, I'd like a website. So she's in the pipeline, and we're going to set her up a website probably in the next 3 or 4 months.
See, Kim, for you, this is ideal. So, Nick, just close your ears for a minute. But, Kim, you get to travel out to beautiful Cloncurry, Roma, do the road trip, on a regular basis, fully paid, and pick up work for it. It's awesome if you do want to get on the road a bit and travel around, then you can build your presence. And it sounds like, Kim, all those previous years that you did traveling around has kind of set you up in each of these towns. If you're listening to this, think about the assets that you may have in certain communities like Kim. Now it's paying dividends. Now you can start to really build on those. And isn't it cool? You're in all these little rural towns. You can go back and visit people and it just expands. Like you said, that lady now works for someone else and it's just rung you up and said, yep, build me a website. And like you were saying, Nick, as long as people know you face to face. So I've got to ask you this question. When you go out to these towns, do you wear those shirts or is that just a Brisbane thing?
That's just an e-business thing.
We brought them,
Matt?
we brought them, technically we brought it for a cruise that we went on.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're like, what are we going to do with these shirts? So they've sort of become the e-business institute shirts.
And we wanted your attention on our champions interview.
Well, you did get it, remember? And when you come along to the meetups and stuff, it looks cool. Yes, that's good. So, but it's not something you wear into a remote outback town. Probably not.
Not in the first meeting. No.
Not yet.
No, not on the first meeting. Yeah, let them get comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just had to check. I was just thinking, yeah. So more that idea when you're selling to anyone, but like we learn it off Zig Ziglar, the American salesman, you dress one step slightly higher. That's it. So if you're selling to rural people, you just wear a neat collared shirt or whatever, or you can still wear RM Williams boots and nice jeans and a neat collared shirt. That seems to work really well. And I would imagine that's the same in oil and gas as well. So there you go. Little tip if you're listening to this. Apparently, it's always best to dress just a little one level above who you're selling to. So if you're on the Gold Coast, those shirts are going to be perfect. So, or if you're in Miami or something.
Road trip.
Yeah. Road trip down to the Gold Coast.
That's
guys, this is awesome. So looking back, final question for you both. Any advice for beginners in this? Think of yourselves, someone, our community. There's a lot of people like yourselves who are wanting to transition. They're burnt out from COVID or they've got corporate roles. What sort of advice do you have to them that you think could help them? Like what have you found in this last year that's helped you get these awesome results?
Stay the course. Like there's like a lot of people, and I still hear it now, that they come into champions with the mindset of doing portfolio, but and a lot of people come back later on and say, well, Matt is always right in the fact that they should start with a digital agency. And that's how I've grown in confidence just in myself, just by having the digital agency. So I would not have been able to do this podcast 12 months ago. And I did another podcast earlier on in the year as well, and we've got another one coming up. So we're getting ourselves out there. But it's just that confidence and staying the course, like trust in the program, and you'll make it work.
Yep. Well done, mate. Congratulations. We get that a lot. Like on a lot of these interviews, anyone listening to something Nick just said, there's a big mindset component to this, isn't there, Nick? Like it does help a lot with confidence. I think that's really important. And mate, thanks for sharing that. And Kim, for you, any advice for someone starting out on this journey?
Nick stole all my words. Stay the course. I think this is the other thing. If you are in that couple, my concern at the beginning was that we would potentially not work well together. We had our moments, of course.
No, you're both perfect. Nick, I don't want to hear that, Nick and Kim. I see you both not perfect couple.
We're amazing, not perfect.
they would never have their, or awesome, not perfect, like myself. But sorry, Kim, I interrupted. So keep going. As a couple, that's really, keep going.
Well, I was about to say, because Nick knows that Kim is always right.
Oh.
We're
Yes.
learning all the lessons, not just the technical ones from yourself and Liz. We're learning all the lessons that,
Good.
someone always has to be right, and it's usually Kim, so that works.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's negotiation of working out where things are going to sit and price points, and then we get completely stuck and jammed up. And then we call one of the coaches. So we've also learned that lesson. We get to a point and we go, let's just have a chat with a coach and get a different perspective. So you guys are always there. You're always willing to help us nut it out and work out where we need to go, but without really telling us what to do. You just extract it and guide us and let us make our own decision, but with that support all the way along. So that's just a phenomenal part of the program that I guess we weren't expecting. It wasn't traditionally something I'd experienced from other programs and courses. I was a bit of a course junkie back in the day till I found you guys. And there was never that level of interest on that ongoing progress, whereas you guys and your team are always with us all the way. So,
Oh, that's awesome, Kim. Thanks for that feedback. And I think one thing I will throw a shout out to our coaches. They're amazing, aren't they? Because I think one of the reasons they're so good is because they've all done what you are doing, and they all have 6 and 7 figure online businesses. So I think, they walk the talk, they're living it, breathing it, and they know it's, most importantly, they've all been champions themselves at some point, and they know what you're going through. And like you said, Kim, it's kind of not even, to them, it's not even coaching. It's just, hey, sharing what they did. And then for you guys, that helps you overcome the problems or the challenge. Do we call them challenges that you may face? And that's awesome. And I will reiterate something too. A lot of people have noticed on this program, there are a lot of couples, not always, you don't have to be a couple, but it is, as a couple, has it been a fun journey?
Yeah, completely.
Who's going to answer that one? Nick, you've got to say yes, right?
I've got to say yes, but no, it's definitely been fun, and we've since Kim going part-time and me just working in the business, we've been able to travel to Melbourne quite regularly for family and just do things that we've still been able to work, but we've been in different locations. Like we go out to Roma, we go down to Melbourne, we sort of came back up through Dubbo and the like, so quite regularly. And without doing what we like in transport, I can't work remotely from my location because it's a bus. Like I have to be able to get to the bus. So it's amazing the lifestyle that this has allowed us to do.
That's cool. Yeah. I think that's an important lesson for everyone listening here. What you guys have just said, stay the course, but also working together as a couple, and figuring it out, and congratulations to you both. Really, really well done. Exciting times. This is a moment in time, and I did want to celebrate it with you by getting you onto the podcast. And also, I want to say thank you for sharing openly, your journey, the numbers, how you met, but also your specialty, working in rural Outback Australia, doing the digital agency stuff. Guys, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Mission accomplished for both of you when you wrote down that goal. Awesome.
Thanks, Matt. It's been great. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Matt.